Good morning. Welcome back. My name is Krishna. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. So this time around, we're going to take a look at an interesting Adobe tool. It's a web-based tool that's available with your Creative Cloud subscription that can help you as a visualization tool when you're creating your illustration. So the illustration that you're seeing here, this spaceship, was actually modeled in a program called Neo. Neo is currently in beta, but my expectation is that later on this year, this tool will actually be available for you as a non-beta application, a full release, if you will. So how does this work? So we're going to take a quick look at Neo. I'm just going to switch to my browser. So this is all happening within the browser. This is a 3D modeling tool. It is not as complicated as 3D Max or Maya. Think about it as a modeling tool for people that are maybe not fans of modeling tools because they're too complex. So I'm going to show you how this works. We're not going to spend a lot of time going through every little facet of this, but I am going to go ahead and delete what I currently have here. And what I can do is I can choose, say, an object. I can drag an object. I can move the object. And notice that there is a shadow. I've got this set up to vector mode, which is really, really cool because I can actually see my cast shadow. If I want to go ahead and change, say, the highlight intensity or the opacity, I can go ahead and do that. With vectors, you're pretty much dealing with solid objects, but you can manipulate this object pretty easily. So I can scale it, I can round it, I can add some bevels to it, and I can position it in space. And if I wanted to add, say, something on top of this, let's just go ahead and click this triangle tool. I can click on the top here. It places this triangle, and I have the ability to manipulate each of these individual objects. So I can go ahead and extend this wedge out. I can bring it in. You can see that that's also being reflected in the shadow. I can make it more rounded. I can make it more solid. So if you're having some difficulty with visualization, this can be a very useful tool. This can really help you out. Let's go ahead and rotate this. I'm not even sure what I'm making, but I'm just kind of walking you through this particular demo. We might make something interesting in an illustration. My goal here is not to go ahead and show you every little facet of this tool, but it's just to give you a taste of what this tool can do. We can also change colors of objects. What I really like about this is there's an ability to carve, kind of very much like in Illustrator where you have the Pathfinder tool. I can say, bring this triangular shape inside, and then I can choose in the combine panel, there's something called subtractive. And under that, there's carve. If I click on carve, it just hollows that space out. And I can use these dials here to get different POVs. So if let's say that you're working on a comic book and there's a building, you could potentially model the basics of this building, and then you can just switch the camera to match whatever view you want to draw from. So I'm going to just rotate this down just a smidge. I want to have a little bit more. I want to be able to see a little bit of that inside. This might be a little bit tricky. It's a little bit sensitive. Let me just see if I can do this without making it too difficult. All right, and then let's just move this. Maybe that's a good view. So I've got this opening right here. I've got my shadow. And I also have the ability to look at this in an isometric view, very much like where there's no vanishing points. I can look at this in parallel. I'm not quite sure what that does, but I know isometric is no vanishing points. Perspective here gives me the hint of a vanishing point. I can choose how much distortion. I can choose the focal length. I can really pull this out if I wanted to. And I can get rid of these extra platforms or change their color or add to their thickness and what have you. There's a lot of different great options that you can go ahead and choose from here. You can even fill in backgrounds. There's also a type tool that you can use when you're creating three-dimensional text. So you can see here that I've got this lorem ipsum text. If I were to go ahead and select it, I can just change this to something like Krishna Draws, and I can manipulate this as well. I can rotate this in space. I can flip it around. I can go ahead and extrude. So it's actually really, really cool. So I haven't played around with this tool too much, but I have been thinking about how I can incorporate this into my workflow. So what I can do here, under styles, you have realistic. This is what it comes out of the box with. You might see this as a realistic style. But you can also choose pixelated, and you can choose the intensity of pixelization, which is kind of neat. Or you can choose vector art, which is applicable for the types of things that I do. And illustrative is grayed out. No, actually it's not. It just looks terrible. So I'll hit Command Z to undo that. I can also play with the lighting. I can rotate the light. I can increase the height of the light. I can show the shadow distance, so that if I want this to actually be floating up above from the ground, I can do that. And I can cast a shadow of the floor itself. I'm probably not going to do that. All right, so the question is, how do I make this work? Well, let's first of all go back to our view here. We have a camera tool here. We can take a snapshot. But what I want to do is I want to go ahead and download this as a scalable vector graphic. And in order for me to do that, I'm going to do one setting here. I'm going to switch this back to vector because I want to be able to see the shadows. Now I can choose download, SVG, and I'll go ahead and keep the options as is. I can change the output. I'll click download. And then magically seconds later, it will appear my download. Now I'm going to switch to Photoshop. I'll open up a new file. I'll come back in. I'll just choose place embedded. I'll bring my document in. Scalable vector graphics is exactly what the name says. It's basically something that I can edit with a tool like Illustrator. In fact, I'll show you that here in a minute. So I've got this image here, and let's say that I don't want this background. I want the background to be removed from this particular object. Well, if I right click on the layer that contains this smart object, let's just choose Edit Contents, and it's going to open it up in Illustrator. And now what I can do is I can take my selection tool here, and I can say I don't want this background. I'm going to delete it. Then I'm going to go ahead and save it. And then if I switch back to Photoshop, you can see that the background is gone. So it's pretty cool. Now, how can we use this for the types of digital illustration work that we normally do? Well, I like to use this as a way of just getting a sense of, like, okay, if this is like a building, I can start to add some other elements to it. I can map my grids onto this. So in a previous video, I talked about how you can turn on the grid tool. And what I can do here is, with the smart object turned off, I can create a snapshot. I think I might have this in my library. Let me just look at my library and see. There we go. Got my grid. I'm going to drag my grid out. And I can then drop I'll make this set to multiply. I can move my grid into position here. And if I want the grid to match that perspective of, say, one side of my box, I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. I'll hit Command A, Command C. I'll hide the layer. And if I go to Filter, I choose Vanishing Point. I'll get this Vanishing Point box showing up. It's going to ask me to go ahead and create the corners. So I can just go ahead and say boom, boom, boom. And then if I hit Command V to paste, I can drag that grid, and that grid matches that particular perspective. I can click OK. And now I've got this grid that I can use. Like if I wanted to turn this into a building, I can easily say, all right, well, here's the opening of the building. Here's maybe a couple of windows. So this really does make the process of creating environments or whatever else. I mean, if you have Project Neo installed, you'll see the very first splash screen when you launch your browser. It actually shows you other examples from other designers. and it can be very, very helpful to see the capabilities of this tool. It's pretty extensive. You can make all sorts of very detailed things. I'm just showing you a very, very basic implementation here. Also, if I didn't want any of the fills, if I just wanted the strokes, I can remove those fills and just work with the strokes. So there's a lot you can do with this. So hopefully that's going to whet your appetite in terms of the capabilities of this tool. Again, it's a 3D modeling tool for people that are either intimidated by 3D modeling, or if you just want something simple that works easy between your Photoshops, your Illustrators, and you want to be able to just bounce the file back and forth, this tool is actually fantastic. I have modeled in 3D before. I've modeled in Maya, and I used that for a number of years. And this is definitely not Maya, but what I do appreciate about it is it's very, very simple, and it's something that if you just play around with it for an afternoon, you'll be able to pick it up. So anyway, that's the content of the video for this week. I hope you found some value in it. If you did, please consider giving it a thumbs up. If you want to see me do more work with Neo in an upcoming video, let me know. This is just meant to give you an overview and to maybe help unlock some potential. Maybe you're looking for something like this, and it's actually pretty easy. So I just wanted to share that with you. Thanks so much for watching the video. If you found some value, please give it a thumbs up, and I will catch you in the next one. See ya.